Hello and welcome to the Women in Fish and Chips vlog. I'm delighted to be joined today by Sarah Heward, director and founder of the Real Food Café. Sarah, thank you so much for doing this. And for those of you that don't know your business quite as well as I do, would you be able to tell us a little bit more info?
Well, thanks very much, Elite, for giving me the opportunity today. It's great, and it's especially great because actually I feel pretty isolated, and so it's great that you're giving me the opportunity to connect with yourself and with your members. Part of the kind of unique thing about the cafe is its location, and it's remote, and that's probably why I feel particularly isolated. I've been in lockdown with my husband and I care for my mother, so I'm not isolated per se, but it is isolating being here in a remote location, and also being cut off from going to industry events, workshops and award ceremonies, and just all the kind of, I miss the vibrancy and the life of our industry, externally and internally. I miss the life of the cafe. Our cafes, it was, just to kind of explain, 15 years ago, I bought a derelict little chef. And today, it's a really vibrant place. The notion of social distancing in our cafe is, it's a non-starter, to be honest, in the way that it kind of has always operated, in that, it's jam-packed most of the time and there's a queue out of the door. So it's really, people cheek by jowl, rubbing along together. It's it can be very busy. We can serve 2,000 people a day easily, sometimes more. And we serve a kind of a roadside menu: breakfast, lunch, dinner. We serve all day from 7:30 till 9 o'clock, 7 days a week, all throughout the year. We only usually close for 3 days a year, so this is really unusual situation. We serve, but at the very heart of our offering is fish and chips. So we serve, the bulk of our meals are fish and chips, but we serve a hell of a lot of coffee and home baking around those, around those meals. We're completely closed on the 22nd of March, and we did that. That was before the lockdown officially started. And we did that because actually we were so busy, we couldn't really control it. Everything was happening so fast. We hadn't had time to kind of get on the front foot. And we were worried about the safety of our staff in particular, but also, the customers. So we decided to close on the 22nd and kind of think we'd regroup. But then kind of matters were taken out of our hands and the official lockdown started. We haven't opened at all, and there's a number of reasons for that. Firstly, we are in a national park. We're in the Loch Lomond and Trossachs National Park in Scotland. And the national park is closed, so we don't want to encourage people to travel into the national park. We're remote. The conurbation, the village around us, only houses 160 people. To give you an idea of the remoteness, the children going to secondary school from that village travel a 100-mile round trip every day to go to school and back. So in order to come to our cafe, you've got to travel, really. We can't open it for a population of 160. We've got 18 staff on the furlough.
Oh, right.
So we rely on people travelling. So no, we are closed, and at the moment the situation is in Scotland that we're still on lockdown, as opposed to England that has eased the regulations. So at the moment we have really no clear idea when we are going to reopen. We are building a click and collect platform, so one of the offerings will be click and collect, and we always did takeaway and we always did eat-in. I don't see us doing delivery from our location because it's just way too remote to ever do that, but we won't be reopening until people start moving again.
What was the initial response like from your customers when you first closed?
Well, closing was, it was really difficult. It was a difficult decision emotionally. It's so counterintuitive to everything you do as an entrepreneur. I have fought tooth and nail for 15 years to keep that business open and alive, and here I was closing it. and it's just, you think, am I going insane? But I have to say that the majority of the customers have been very supportive. I've tried to communicate with them on a regular basis on social media through this, to keep in touch and to kind of fence check, temperature check really how they're feeling about things. I've had offers of support, financial support from some of the customers as well, which I haven't taken up as yet, but that's something I'm thinking about, how to do that for the future.
Is that like people buying vouchers or credit that they can use later?
Yeah, people wanting to invest, whether it's a voucher scheme or whether it's crowdfunding. I'm not too sure at the moment how to actually best do that, and I think that will depend in a way how we decide to kind of go forward in the medium term. One of the things we've been doing at the moment, we've been really busy doing. So I'll just go back a bit. So the closing, you make the decision to close, which is emotionally crucifying, actually, and then you have to actually physically do the close. And you don't just shut a business up that's going like a train, that's employing 18 plus people and serving 2,000 a day in 5 minutes. That took us over a week to close the cafe down properly. And by this time a lot of the staff were then furloughed, so myself and my husband, the only two that aren't furloughed, we ended up doing it ourselves. So and we're, frankly, there's people on our team who can do practical things a whole lot better than I can these days, to do with oil and fish, and so we're not the most adept at doing it. So it took us a while to close it down properly, and then set up all the kind of communication channels that we needed to have set up. So obviously there was communication with the bank, with our accountants, with the employment lawyers, a lot of communication with those people. But we also wanted to keep in touch very closely with our suppliers and with our team, even though they were furloughed and not working. So that took us the best part of 2 weeks to kind of close down and set up all the communication channels, and just kind of get our heads around what we had to do next, really. And then the next steps were dealing with the money. And we closed, as I said, on the 22nd of March, which third week in March is annually always the lowest point of our cash flow of the whole year. I mean, if you'd have asked me what's the worst possible week that you could close your business down, I would have said, the third week in March, because we've got through the winter and we're just about to kick off. The season starts really first week in April. It varies very slightly depending on Easter, but the Easter holidays were just about to start. So those Easter holidays that are huge, and then you've got the May bank holidays, and then you've got all the events starting. So we make all of our profit from the 1st of April till the end of October, and we make a huge amount, most of it, between the 1st of April and the end of August. So, it was, the scale of what we had to do financially was pretty big. And we wanted to make sure that we had more than enough money to weather whatever might come, so we kind of thought about what's the worst possible case scenario here, and how much might we need if we were closed safe for a year to get through. Wow. So, and even if we're not, that we'll be able to, continue to invest in the business when we finally do open. So we've set about, making sure that we were going to be in a position to be able to do that. And that's what we've done.
When do you expect that you might open?
It's a guess, but I'm probably thinking, I'm hoping sometime towards the end of June, but more realistically, probably July. And even then, I'm not sure what opening will look like. How many, whether it will just be click and collect, whether it will be click and collect and take away. As far as the kind of cafe coming back, who knows at the moment. I think Normally we like to be, as a management team in a business, on the front foot and ahead of everybody else, but actually in this instance I'm happy to be a week or two behind, because I want to kind of watch what happens to other people and how they handle it. What would be a disaster for us is to open and then have to close again.
Are there any other kinds of changes you're looking at making?
So we're shortening the menu. We're looking at packaging from point of view of, the transportation, but also from the point of view of, environmental credentials. We'll probably, one of the things we're afraid of, because we're remote, is that people take the food into a lay-by or a beauty spot nearby and then just chuck it out the car. So, we want to give a package that, actually says this is to put all your stuff in, to take it home and put it in the bin. So they get like a bag that's branded up to say this is what you must do. So things like that we're considering. Also that all our packaging should be branded. They're not going to be having the the in-house cafe experience. So, we want our brand, we want to take as much of that out into their vehicle or into their, if they take it home, into their home. We're changing all our uniforms. So, the uniforms will be much more kind of safety conscious. So for instance, white coats branded up, and, we'll try to make them look as attractive as possible. We've got fish and chip fabric that we've had made into face masks. Amazing. So it's kind of all these things that we're working on at the moment behind the scenes to try and kind of be ready for our opening and do it well when we do open. What we want to do is hit the ground running. What we cannot afford to do, and it really worries me with, the industry, is open, do it badly, or lose money. I mean, having had all of this time closed, we've got to get it right.
Absolutely. And how have you been coping personally in this period?
If I was honest, you'd have to blip me out, because it hasn't been easy. You'd have to do a beep because it has been beep. I found it very hard. I'm very grateful that I live where I live, and I'm very into the outdoors, and I've been able to get out and I get space. And in the great outdoors, and actually the weather's been good, which would have been fabulous for business, but it's been really nice for me to enjoy that sunshine and space in the great outdoors here in where I live. And I think in some regards it's been my saving grace. It's put pressure on my relationship with Alan, and my mum, who at times has nearly driven me mad. She normally has other carers, and I'm kind of trying to do it myself. But I'm lucky, because in their own ways, Alan is super supportive, and I'm really lucky that he's shouldered the brunt of the responsibility of this and shielded me from some of it while I've been looking after my mum. And my mum, she contributes in her own way, so people are a hell of a lot worse off than I am. But it's been really, really hard. To be in that kind of, it's the lack of feeling of control, I suppose, that your destiny is kind of so much of it out with your control.
Absolutely, but you're not alone, and I guess a lot of people are in the same boat, even though it might feel extremely lonely.
Really scary. So lack of sleep then sets in, and none of that helps. But I see light at the end of the tunnel. We've managed to get the financing in place, which, thank goodness, which means, I can kind of sleep at night. Obviously, at some point, all of that's got to be paid back. But I have confidence in our ability to be able to do that. We can run a good business when we're open. We can run a great business on a kind of level playing field. Things will come out of this, which will create opportunities for the people who run good shows and are good, running good businesses. There's no doubt about that.
You're doing an absolutely incredible job. Is there any advice that you would give to anyone else going through something very similar to yourself?
Well, I guess as far as stress is concerned, because mental health is, if you haven't got that, you haven't got anything. If we are not good as industries, our bosses of our businesses and leaders, managers, whatever, if we're not in a good place, we can't lead a good business. There's no doubt about it. So that's the starting point. And you've got to look after yourself, number one, and try and get the headspace. So a very, very, very good friend of mine and mentor said to me, keep your head in today, Sarah. And this is a really pertinent time for doing that, because if you try to think through every single scenario that may happen or may not happen, you'll go insane, you know. So keeping your head in today, shoring up the finance, you know, making sure. I see that Compass are having, I mean, the biggest contract caterer in the world, they are having a kind of rights issue and raising £2 billion at the moment to weather this. So, you know, this is not going to go away anytime soon. We've got to kind of learn to live with it. And we've really, you know, most of us, people like me, most probably your viewers, Elliot, are operators. You know, we're great operators and people. So, you know, a faceless, contactless kind of service goes a bit against the grain, but we've got to do it. We've got to do what needs to be done, and we've got to do it really, really well for our own sakes and for the sake of the industry. And I would urge everyone to look after the money. Don't be spending money on anything that isn't going to give you a return. You've got to break even every single day when you open, and focus on that, because we are inclined as operators to focus on the product and to focus on the people, and focusing on the profit can sometimes come further down, you know, down the road. Well, you know, we've got to make sure that we're doing the profit probably, you know, first. At least right up there with the product and the people.
Sarah Heward, thank you so much for that. Some really excellent advice for people. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for asking me. So nice to see you. Thank you.